I really got to get me a new hat while I drink my free coffee. Thank you, Batello's Lumber, for the free coffee. Something that I just got someone asked me in the Discord, return on cash. What are you going to do with, the next capital, the next layer of capital, right? And you get to a certain point where you have to measure out your levels of risk, okay? Because there's sensitivities to risk. You don't know if the market's going up, down, or sideways, and quite frankly, no one does. So what do I mean by measured your sensitivities? If you have too much exposure, say to one sector or one specific stock or ETF or whatever it is, or maybe it's a bond, right, or treasuries or whatever, and say you have a 50% exposure and that 50% falls by 20%, your entire portfolio just fell heavily. What is the impact of that falling knife against the rest of your portfolio and your year-over-year return? To some people, this doesn't really matter because they have they have liquidity pools that they can pull from. Most people do not, okay? And if you don't have, this is really where it all comes down to. You're either going to need a disgusting amount of excess liquidity, okay, which again, 99.9% of people don't, or you need to have an ungodly amount of patience and you wait for your right opportunity. And I'm kind of saying this out loud to kind of tell myself this. Otherwise, you start taking unnecessary risk correlated to the price now, and it could go upside down very quickly. And I'll give you guys an example. Say you buy, I don't know, we're going to say MicroStrategy, right? And the price is falling, and you're going to do a net credit spread on MicroStrategy. Everything is green, everything looks great. And you do 10 contracts, and the net credit spread is for $2. It also might show up as like a vertical spread on your trading calculator. Now it's going to say on your trading calculator your max loss, right, could be the $2, which is 200, okay, multiplied by the amount of contracts minus the premium you collect, okay? All good and well. Now, we're coming up to Friday expiration. You're out of the money, significantly out of the money. And a net credit spread, depending on which direction you choose, is a sell and a buy simultaneously, right? And you're responsible for the difference. That's the credit. If for some reason at market close, say the price of Bitcoin falls from whatever it is right now, 112 to 99, right? There's just like a massive sell-off for whatever reason. The underlier, the MicroStrategy, which you have a cash secured put on, which is one leg of your net credit spread, falls to in the money. All of a sudden, you get assigned 10 contracts of MicroStrategy. Now your net credit spread when you took this trade might have only showed a max loss of, say, I don't know, $2,000, $3,000, whatever. Okay, but now because of that underlying sensitivity, right? Remember, you have 10 contracts. Because of that underlier sensitivity of something like Bitcoin, which would seemingly be unrelated, but it's sensitive. Now your MicroStrategy falls to in the money, okay, right at market close. Falls in the money, you get assigned. So now your net credit spread is not a max loss of, say, $2,000 or $3,000. Okay, now you get assigned at, right now it's trading at $346. So ends up being $346,000. is what you get assigned for. Even though on your trading calculator, it might have showed, your max loss being $2,000 or $3,000 because of the spread. So that's what I mean by price sensitivities. You have to be very vigilant of these things can happen. Now, again, what I just explained, don't bother looking it up. It's not a written rule anywhere. You'd have to go to the OCC and check it out. You're not going to be able to find that on Google or AI, but every broker will allow someone in the long side to exercise that options up to 90 minutes after market close. So if for some reason your underlier, right, falls to in the money, you are going to get exercised. And it's going to be magnified, okay, because we did 10 contracts. So it would be the cash secured put side. Your call put side would be, it would be irrelevant at this point because that would expire. So it's a magnified loss just by something as sensitive as the price fluctuation of Bitcoin. It's kind of my point. So when you start looking into the grand scheme of things, take these things into consideration when you're starting to deploy money. You're either going to have to be unbelievably savvy, insider trading, have a ton of money, or just go buy the index. At least if you were to buy the index and something like this were to happen to you, it would just settle in cash, whether it's good or bad. You wouldn't get assigned the shares. If you don't get assigned the shares, then you can't cover call it away, but you'd settle in cash. So, little nuances, I suppose.